Good evening, everybody. We're here for our Wednesday night, 6 o'clock webinar. And so the goal for tonight, as it is every week, is to just give you a brief update on what's happening around Oregon City schools and answer your questions. So again, we're gonna do our best to do that tonight. If you have questions, that's great. Go ahead and put them in the question and answer section. Last week, we changed it up a bit where we had our panel, who is a number of our administrators from around the district, joining us tonight, and they will, if they can answer the question, they're going to go ahead and answer that question by typing in the answer. Once that question is answered, though, it moves from an open section within the webinar to the answered section. So you'd have to kind of click on the Q&A answered tab, if that makes sense. So right now we'll just go ahead and I'll just kind of give a little brief update. We have an hour. I don't know if we'll use the full hour or not. It's going to depend on any of the questions that we have. And we'll go till at least or a maximum 7 o'clock. And then if there's additional questions, we'll do our best to get those answered after the fact. So just a couple of updates. This week was our first week interacting with kids and families. So the start of the new year is off. I think it's off to a very good start. Obviously, no start is perfect, and we had a few technical glitches along the way and a few things that happened. But overall, I felt like the first couple of days, we're in day 3, have gone very well and gotten better each and every day. So, you know, we started off the week a little bit differently at each of the buildings. So again, depending on where your students go to school, it's going to look a little bit different. But overall, at the elementaries, we're doing meetings with individual families this week. I hear those are going well and appreciated. And you know, as families come in and these little kids get into school, we see a bunch of smiles and we're excited to see them back. So that's a good feeling. And then as we kind of move through the different levels, you're going to see different amounts of interactions with Zooms and from large group down to individual classrooms. So really going throughout the week, we're still at the elementaries distributing devices. So we know that we're troubleshooting with some families and some devices to make sure that the devices are working like we hope they will. So we'll get those fixed or replaced one at a time. And we can do that. You know, you can do that at any time. We're open for business with our support. And maybe we can come back to that in just a minute, Mrs. Schiavone, and you can just talk a little bit about that support piece with the people that are on. So again, the meeting here today is to really answer your questions about the start of the school year. We do have our sports starting to roll now. We have already had a girls' home soccer game, a boys' home soccer game. Volleyball starts tomorrow, and we have our first home football game. I do just want to touch base a little bit for those of you who are on about how the football game is going to work. And the bottom line is if you don't have a ticket, you're not going to be able to attend the game, or you're not going to be allowed to be on campus. We really have to make a concerted effort to control the crowds, because what we're not allowed to have are people around the fence line or any kind of tailgating or public gathering at our football game. So unless you are a parent or a loved one of the football players or cheerleaders or the band, you're not going to be allowed to come to the football game. And you won't be allowed into the parking lot or the stadium without evidence of a ticket that you bought. So we do just want to emphasize that. If you could, you know, work with us on that one. It's certainly not what we want, but it's the position we all find ourselves in to allow our kids to play football games and hold athletic contests. So far, so good, knock on wood. We've had, you know, our soccer games have gone very well. I'm very proud of the community in terms of the distancing that they're mandated to do and wearing of masks. That's the hardest part when it's 90 degrees out, is to wear your mask. Totally understand that, but it is a requirement. And if you do attend the game, you must wear your mask throughout the game. So I just wanted to emphasize that point, that you must have a ticket to enter to the campus at all. and you need to follow all the rules once we're inside, or they can shut us down. And none of us want that to have happen. So with that, Ms. Schiavone, if you would just talk a little bit about tech support and what that looks like.
Certainly. We opened our doors for business on Monday, and so as the students have any difficulties with their devices, they're emailing student_techhelp@oregoncs.org. And then through those emails, if we determine that it is a physical issue or an issue that we need to see the device in person, then our tech department will make an appointment or figure out a best time for the student to come in and bring their device. And then we take care of it. If we can't take care of it immediately, it's very, very simple. We just swap the device out with another device, and then the student can be on their way. The repairs happen at Wynn Elementary. That's where our tech department is located. And you enter at door 4. So just pull in the parking lot and enter at door 4. And when we make an appointment with you, then we'll see you then to fix that device. For the most part, we've had about less than 1% that have had any issues, and we've been taking care of them.
Great. Thank you. And I do want to appreciate and thank the tech staff for their hard work. In these days of remote learning, their value has shined. And so we're very proud of all of them. So with that, I just say we jump into a couple of these questions, and we'll at least get those, and that may generate some other questions. So the very first question says, why was it decided not to send home cases with Chromebooks? So I don't know, Ms. Schiavone, if you want to touch base on the cases. I know I
can address that, certainly. It's pretty simple. We could not find cases. So many things in the tech world right now are back ordered, not available, being held up in customs, and to purchase cases for all of the devices as they go home, it just was not an option. Cases were not available. So that's why we didn't send cases home with the devices.
Yeah, and that continues to be a problem across the whole entire country, with Google Chromebooks and devices being made available or being held up outside of the country or in customs within the side of the country. We were fortunate to make a connection with another another school district in Ohio to purchase some used Chromebooks to get us through. And we talked about that at the last meeting. It's not optimal, but right now, if you can make the best of a tough situation, which we have a device for everyone and a few spares to work on the broken one. So we feel very fortunate with that.
Mr. Gregory, do you mind if I respond to there was a follow-up question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
That were returned last year. So oftentimes the cases, they were a fabric case, and when they are returned, they're not in what we would consider to be able to be redistributed. And so we just felt, especially in the times that we're in, that wasn't a wise choice to redistribute those cases to the students.
Good. Yeah, we know cases are going to protect, and that's always has been in our plan and is in our plan to have cases for devices. Just not happening right now. Next question, why did the board meet without notifying anyone that it was meeting to lay off support staff and paraeducators? Yeah, I'm sure many of you are aware of some of the information and misinformation that's floating out there right now. I'm not going to go into it too deep tonight. I will be addressing it in the coming days for sure, but that's an absolute non-truth. We had a special board meeting scheduled, just like we always have, and we notify the public and the media and everybody as per the law. And we sent out notice about our meeting that we held earlier in the week. Earlier in the week on Monday. And that notice was legal and public. And what happens though often is people don't see that or pay attention to those things. And that's just what happens. but we sent out the notice just like we do every single board meeting that we have. So I think the difference is that our special board meetings are not often live streamed. I don't think we've live streamed any of our special meetings. That's just been what we do. We live stream our regular meetings. So yeah, there's nothing easy about the times we're going through right now, working with personnel issues and certainly all the issues that we need to work through for our students and our families, and our taxpayers are important. So this is a tough situation for all of us, but we're going to continue to work through it and do everything we can to support our employees. And we're continuing to discuss the situation that we're in. Okay. Am I correctly understanding that each Friday we should get something from each teacher regarding the schedule for that class for the next week? This starts Friday, question mark. So maybe I don't know, Mrs. Conkle maybe, or maybe we go around the room. What do you think?
I certainly can address that. You know, we have talked with our staff about possibly doing kind of an overview for the week, especially in our younger grades. In our elementary school, our teachers are typically used to doing a weekly newsletter. So we have talked with them about, you know, like I said, giving an overview for the week, just to let parents know when those classes would be live, or they would be holding a Zoom class. That is different in our upper grades because those Zoom classes are already scheduled according to the student's schedule and according to what periods meet on what days. So I think there could be some teachers who provide that, but that is not something that we are expecting from every teacher, and it isn't something that will be sent out on Fridays.
Yeah, Mr. Gregory, that was something that we did last year, last March,
Okay.
when teachers were trying to organize and get things out to the parents and the students. This year, with doing our live lessons, quote live lessons, you know, we did not do that where we have that pushed out 1 week in advance. So they'll be doing their live lessons. There'll be some activities, assignments, things like that to be completed on the off days in which they are not meeting live with their teacher. But as Ms. Conkle said, that's not an expectation at the high school for this year.
We are asking our teachers to make a daily post to Schoology in grades 5 through 12 in Google Classroom for grades K through 4, so that students know what the expectations are each day. So that's always a great place to go to know what's happened during the week and then what's happening for that day.
Okay, great, thank you all. Jim, this might be for you. Will the high school counselors hold any type of Zoom session with seniors and parents regarding the college application process and FAFSA process?
Yeah, you know, beginning of this year, beginning of every year, I should say, not this year, but that's an important time to make sure they reach those deadlines for any college applications. FAFSA, we hold different opportunities during our quote stride period and things like that. So I know Ms. Kohler met with the counselors last week and is working on a schedule. So yeah, there'll be further information released as to what exactly will be the method of delivery of the message and things like that. But definitely, we're not forgetting about the seniors. We're not forgetting about the important time of year it is. And that information will be released, yes.
Great. Next question, in regards to sporting events, will you be getting pics for a yearbook? Would be nice if the seniors can have some sort of yearbook, even though it is a different time. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm not sure how this, I believe, did we do pics for sports?
Well, here's what we did. If anybody knows Miss Joseph, Miss Joseph is going to get pictures for that yearbook. She is not going to let that suffer. Even last year during the shutdown, she had enough forethought to have kids go out to the last few practice days before we actually shut down and get pictures of athletic events, or their practices, I should say, and things like that. So the very first day she was already in my office talking about what can be done. We realize we're in a time where we want to recognize everyone. Athletic pictures did occur. There weren't team pictures that were taken though, but we had individual pictures. Ms. Joseph's already talking about what she can do for the seniors and things like that, and for all our athletes. So there are plans. I don't want to say anything now because I don't want to pin her down to one specific thing or two specific things. But let me tell you, her wheels are turning. She's been in communication with her editors, and I have no doubt it's going to be another outstanding yearbook. She's put out a couple good products here the past few years, and she is very passionate about that yearbook.
My understanding in talking with Mark, our athletic director, is that, we are going to allow, obviously, yearbook photographers or students. There's not many people allowed in the stadiums for games outside of, parents and loved ones, but we were going to allow student photographers, if I'm understanding that.
Yes, they each, I don't want to say each student, but each student is responsible for their own spread. So that student that is responsible for that sporting event, they will be allowed to go take pictures for the yearbook, yes.
Great. Okay, question about hybrid. When deciding to go back to a hybrid model, will it be changed back to 2 consecutive days for each group instead of Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday? Why was it changed before? Actually, it was never 2 consecutive days with any of our discussions. I mean, maybe early on, but certainly nothing publicly when we were kind of talking about what the best route is. So if and when we come back in a hybrid model, the plan right now is to keep it Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. And the reasoning behind that is we really felt that a back-to-back day was maybe something that was considered a little bit of a safer way to do it, but we just felt educationally having 5 days in between the time our teachers had contact with their kids wasn't healthy educationally. And we had a lot of good discussion, all these individuals you see on your screen were part of those discussions. And what we landed on is this Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday, so that we had a chance to see students twice a week, but also to be able to address any issues they had in a reasonable amount of time. So we are planning on keeping it that way. I don't know, anybody else want to add to that? Okay. Next question. For those of us watching sports online, could we get rosters sent out to us? Oh, I think that's maybe a reasonable request. That's a good question. I will talk with our athletic director and see what we can do. Probably post that somewhere, maybe. It's a good point. You don't know their numbers, and it's not like a live college or pro broadcast where you have announcers saying their names. So that makes a lot of sense. Good question. Okay. I'm just kind of going down. Explain your meaning of hybrid. What hybrid means is students would come to school 2 days a week in person and 3 days a week would be at home remote. It's a hybrid or an in-between, all remote like we are now, or everyone coming 5 days a week. So hybrid means it is a balance between the two options. And so that's just been kind of the term adopted by people around the state and the country. So it's just kind of stuck. Okay, we received an email telling, We received an email telling us to hold off paying school fees, but then received an email every day reminding us of the balance due. Should we be paying these fees or not? It's a good question. Let me come back to the reminder emails. What we've said, at least in the last 3 meetings here, is that we want you to hold off, and that we're going to, after this first quarter, we're going to reassess all the fees and decide what is fair and appropriate. So the simple answer is do not pay your fees right now. The other answer about the emails, I'm not sure about. I don't know, Mr. Quigg, is that something that's kind of an automatic?
Actually, I'm going to ask this Craig Matthews to forward me the email so we can figure out if the new vendor we're working with is sending it, or I don't really know where they would be coming from. So if they can forward the email, I'll try to track it down.
Okay, so hopefully, Mr. Matthews, you heard that. If you could forward us that, and because we don't want any misinformation on that. Okay, maybe this is already covered, but what is the protocol if someone tests positive in a school? Who gets notified or quarantined? Yeah, you know, we've had a lot of experience on every day, kind of talking this through and having different situations that need us to address. So I'm going to try to address this as simply as I can, because it's a lot more complicated than this. But the protocol is this: certainly, if a student, staff member, or anyone around school has any kind of COVID-related conditions or symptoms, you are not to come to the building. You're not to come to work. You're not to come to school physically. There's a long list of symptoms, but and it varies depending on your age and a lot of different things. But first and foremost is fever, right? If you have a fever above 100.4, all right, you're not to come to school. And all those other associated aches and pains, and there's a lot of different things. You know, you lose your taste, you might have some stomach issues, all those types of things. If you feel that those are, you know, you're not sure what they are, then you don't come to work or school. The protocol is that if you have symptoms, you need to quarantine. If it's a staff member, a teacher, or eventually a student, you have symptoms, you need to quarantine yourself for up to 14 days. Or, and hopefully one of your first steps was you went and contacted your doctor or your primary care provider, and then they were probably going to order you a COVID test. All right. So while you're quarantining, you hopefully will get a COVID test. And if whenever that test comes back, let's say it comes back positive, well, then you need to stay out for 10 days, okay, and isolate yourself, and then be symptom-free for up to, and there's some discrepancy between 24 hours or 72 hours. We've been using the cautious side of 72 hours. You need to be symptom-free, and then you can return. Now, let's talk about the person. So let's say somebody came to school with a fever, right? And you were with that person for a period of time, okay? The person with the fever needs to go home, right? They are going to quarantine themselves and hopefully go get a test for COVID. In the meantime, if you were around that person basically within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more, but if you were around them, you're most likely going to be asked to be quarantined also. But what we do is, as soon as we find out a person has symptoms, we get with our nursing staff, and our nursing staff does some contact tracing backwards so that we can inform those people who we believe were in harm's way. All right. So our nurse, working with our principals, essentially, and myself and other school leaders, obviously, are going to notify those people who should quarantine. So at the end of the day, that was a long answer to a very short question. Is our nurse is going to notify you that you need to be quarantined. Anybody, did I answer that okay? Okay. At what point in time will decisions be made for the second quarter learning plan? So, okay, as of today, August 26th, this is our plan. This has been our plan now since we've decided to go remote. So our plan is to have every student in the district remote until September 14th, when we bring back a small handful, okay, a small handful of our special needs kids beginning September 14th. And we're going to bring them in little phases based on their needs, based on their significant needs and their IEPs. So that begins on September 14th. The health department has said that they're going to make some announcement around October 1st about their either an updated recommendation or a change, whatever. So our plan is to stay remote the first quarter, okay? But really what we're waiting for is that October 1st date for the recommendation to come down from the health department. If the recommendation comes down that it's okay for schools to go back and the recommendation isn't virtual, then I will work with our Board of Education and we will sit down and discuss what our next step is. And our next step would be to make a decision on, do we bring kids back hybrid or all in? Okay. Right now, my mindset is we most likely would transition from remote to hybrid to all in. But again, we're going to look at conditions. So on October 1st, if we have this new information, we're going to be making a decision around that time. So then in about a week and a half, when the first quarter is over, we would start our new plan at the second quarter. Okay. We work on quarters in schools. It's a logical time for all of us to make that transition. So that's the plan as of right now. And I know other districts are looking at their plans and reviewing their plans, but I believe that we need to stay the course, stay with our plan, and hopefully things are improving, which is great. And hopefully they will stay improved throughout the course of the first 9 weeks. All right. What happens if someone starts showing symptoms at school? I mean, the simple answer is we're going to put them in an isolate. If it's a student or a teacher, we're going to get them isolated, and then we're going to have them, either their parents come pick them up, and or the staff member is going to go home, and then we're going to contact trace and let people know who may need to quarantine, and then wait to hear back from those individuals whether or not they were positive for COVID or not. Okay, I've got one more in here. It's really not a question, she says, but thanks for doing this type of forum regularly. I know you're all doing everything possible to put us at ease. Yeah, thank you for that. Really, that's what these are for. We just want to give you, our community, an opportunity to ask questions. You know, we have a question and answer online, survey that you can always put questions into, but this way it's just more personable. And you can see all of us, and we can react to follow-up questions. So that's all the questions in there. Is there anybody else on there? We have 92 participants right now showing on the call. Again, let me just maybe close with this. This COVID situation has brought to communities across the country all kinds of new challenges and questions to answer, and we're no different here in Oregon. And right now there's going to be some tension that is put out there, but I want to reassure the community that my goal is to continue to support every aspect of Oregon City Schools. And again, like I said earlier, our students, our families, our taxpayers, and our employees are all important. But fair doesn't always mean equal. Equal doesn't always mean fair. I say that all the time with my leadership team. I say that all the time. We are in a period that there are so many questions back and forth. And depending on who you ask, a decision we make is either right or wrong or right, depending on your point of view. And again, we don't want to put anybody in harm's way, which is our primary goal. But we also understand the importance of getting kids back to school. We've had a few kids come in and take some tests and their eyes light up and they want to be a part of our school system. So we know kids want to get back. So we know that, and we're going to work our plan. And at the end, our plan hopefully will accomplish what it needs to, and we'll be back before we know it. Okay, a couple questions just popped in. How far out will contact tracing go? That group, class, school? Just wondering more details. I can get into it really deep. We don't know about the class or group yet because we're not in that situation. There's guidance that says, if there's a COVID case positive, that the whole class will be out. There's other guidance that says only portions of that or parts of that class would be out, those kids that might be within 6 feet. So there's a lot of different scenarios that are out there. Bottom line is we're going to work with our nurses and our health departments, and we're going to talk through all those and make the best decision at the time. given the situation. Every situation looks different. Every situation feels different. So to say that there's one answer to what we're going to do. Now, contact tracing, though, really, if you look at it as person zero who might have COVID and the immediate people around person zero, which is like person number one, that's as far as it goes in quarantining. We try to determine who that immediate circle is, those patient ones, if you will. Patient zero is the one that may have COVID. Patient zero is one who may have COVID. Patient one are those immediate people right around, their family, their friends that may have been around them, or their classmates that may have been around them. People who are around their friends, which would be like patient two, will not be quarantined based on patient zero. That's what kind of the flow is. And again, it gets complicated, but we're getting a handle on it. All right, last question here. I want to thank the teachers I spoke to with this week at both Jerusalem and Eisenhower. You can tell they have been informed of the procedures and have been able to clearly explain that to my kids, my two kids. So yeah, fantastic. So kudos to all the teachers and all the folks across the district. I'm telling you, they're working very, very hard. You know, there's, again, teachers and employees are a cross section of our community and people in general, right? There's people who are very tech savvy and there's people who aren't so tech savvy. So we're bringing along the people that aren't so tech savvy, and we're asking the people that are very tech savvy to help the people that aren't that tech savvy. And at the end of the day, if we can get everybody to a point where families and kids are comfortable, then we're doing our job. And I'll tell you, we're all learning from this, and it's only going to make education a better place to be once we're out of this COVID time. Okay, one last statement here. I really appreciate you staying firm on your decision. I know it isn't easy, but it's better to know what to plan for and not have consistent changes and uncertainty. And I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I think that certainty is what we're all striving for. And again, we'll give ample notice for change when we know what's happening. All right. So with that, I'm going to thank you for coming out tonight, everyone. Short, you know, we started this journey with 2 hours on one Wednesday and went down to an hour on another Wednesday and down to a half hour today. So that means that maybe there aren't as many questions as before, and that's good. That means they're getting answered either in the school by your teacher or administrator. So I want to wish everyone a great week, and just give you encouragement. We're all going to get through this just fine. There may be some bumps. Clearly, there will be some bumps, but we're going to do everything we can to minimize those bumps and be safe. So everyone have a wonderful week. Thank you.